And what I wanted to do tonight only is to just deal with your brother Sam, because I recall an interesting experience not so long ago before the Academy did the 40th anniversary of the Last Picture Show, and you said, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And two reasons. One was for personal reasons, but one was because of one of the last scenes of the film. And that I think you could talk about a little bit, because I found it moving and a little disturbing as I saw the film again. If you can.
Well, I just, it's just difficult when you actually go through a death with a sibling, even though he didn't play a sibling in the movie. He was like a little brother. Mm. And then to actually be in a very similar, not that I drug him across a thing right there, but I was there in the bedroom when he was given the overdose of the narcotic and watched his eyes go gold and watched him take his last breath and held his hand and all that kind of stuff. So it's for me, after seeing that scene over and over again, and it was tough, because Sam, he did a really good job acting as a dead kid. He was so relaxed.
He was 16.
Yeah, he's just 15 or 16 years old. Mm. Even though it was play, it was still very serious. You had to put yourself in that mindset. Mm. And to actually go through that at a time when he wasn't supposed to die that early. Sam wasn't supposed to go that soon. That's just bullshit. So I'd seen it so many times.
It's really, you guys were really close too.
Well, yeah, we spent a lot of time here in this room.
Yeah.
In front of this little fireplace and just hanging out up here. Yeah. In fact, the last time we were all here, it was really nice. Sam's wife, Laura Pickford, was producing the Che Guevara movies with Benicio del Toro, and we had Benicio and the entire cast here. We had everybody was here.
Motorcycle Diaries?
No, the Che Guevara movie. It was called Che the Gorilla and Che the Soderbergh directed them both. Wow. Yeah, and we had the whole army here and did all the military training here. So they all slept in the orchard over here, and Benicio had his pipe and he'd walk in and out, and everybody was speaking Spanish. And I mean, the house was full of people. We were cooking tamales, and there must have been 50 people here. And that was the last time that Sam and I were here, and we'd sit in here and talk about it. It was kind of fun because everybody got to bond. All the actors came. They read the script. They rewrote the script. It was for 3 days, and we just barbecued here. And they got, we're so isolated they could do live fire. So I took the dozer out, and I cleared up some places where they wouldn't set the mountain on fire. And they shot all their live rounds and learned to take the guns apart. So it was pretty real. And in fact, the guy that was with Che when he died was here. He got to come and he stayed with us. He was a pretty cool guy. Yeah, he put his arm around me and he said, "Timothy, you're a real gorilla." He said, he looked at the ranch and he said, "This is why we had the revolution." I'll never forget that. And there's a lot of good memories. And there's a bunch of footage too. And I remember saying, they were saying, "Okay, we got to run under fire with livestock." So I went out and I got a mule and I said, "Okay, here you go, guys. Try to run under fire with livestock." And so I gave him a white mule, old Maggie, and you start firing that thing, and that mule starts getting scared. He's pulling you around, and it's so Benicio in the movie. He got a white mule. If you see the movie, he rides a white mule. But he saw how difficult it would be to be under fire with livestock.
When you did the film Last Picture Show, that was the first time you worked with Sam, but you worked with him at least 2 other times. One being in East of Eden, where he played the part that James Dean played, Cal.
Yeah,
and you played Adam.
I asked Harvey Hart to hire him.
And that was Barney Rosenzweig.
Barney Rosenzweig was one of the producers, and the other producer was a good friend of Walt Disney's.
6.5 hours, really magnificent. That's probably
Mace Newfield.
Really, it's probably his greatest novel, Steinbeck's greatest.
You don't know
novel.
who Mace Newfield is?
No.
He
That
did
doesn't make any
all the Tom Clancy's things, you know,
Oh yeah.
Red October and
No.
Mace.
So that was up here, basically. I mean,
Just over the hill. Yeah, it was with Wild Horse Canyon right over here. We shot with Lloyd Bridges.
Tell us about this house and its link to Steinbeck.
Well, I had no idea. I mean, I didn't know. When I bought this place, I knew nothing about it. I was forced into the history because the Forest Service had, by hook or crook, had acquired all the land around me, but this one they could never get. And I guess when I bought it, they were really pissed off that I took this. And because it controls, well, I'm the only private landowner on this drainage, on this river. And for being so close to these high residential areas and having water rights, you know, it's a big deal. Minerals, geology, I mean, Shell Oil bought all the mineral rights around me. I'm medium to high potential gas oil in this valley.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, you know. So, anyway, and it's just a tiny little ranch. You know, it's a micro ranch. But
How many acres?
320.
320.
260 acres, but the valley is so narrow that the property line is way up because we're deep in this valley. So it's a half a mile across. So when you look across, the property line goes pretty.
And aren't the peaks on this coast the highest on
In California, the one right behind us, Cone.
On the coast.
Yeah, it's still growing. Cone and Lucia right there. Those are the two highest on the California coast. We're you're right in the middle of it. After doing the movie, we'd go to the Steinbeck Museum, and they had.
Is that in Salinas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful museum, and I was asked to read with Sam from the novel To a God Unknown, and I'd never read it. I didn't know anything about it. So we read a passage from it. There was a whole bunch of people there, and it's a beautiful museum, and it's got all of his stuff. It's got his truck that he drove with Travels with Charlie, and it's got every movie that's been made with every actor that's been in almost all of his books have been made into motion pictures. Henry Fonda, Grapes of Wrath. I mean, everybody.
The Red Pony.
The Red Pony, the Tortilla Flat, all those guys, Spencer Tracy, everybody's done this stuff. And so we read this, and they talk about Cone Peak and this whole area, and I kind of said, Sam, this area, and all of a sudden Sam said, I want you to talk with Tom. And he introduced me to Tom Steinbeck, John's son.
Oldest son.
Yeah. And Tom said, this ranch that you own is the center of what my dad wrote for his novel To a God Unknown, which is kind of an unknown novel. Didn't get a lot of
second novel.
Yeah, second novel. Didn't get a lot of attention. And it takes place right here. This is the main homestead, and then all the other homesteads were when you did cross the bridge. There were all those other homesteads were all down that valley, and this is the one in the center. And Cook Springs, the rock where the water comes out, is just up here on top of the hill behind Cone Peak. Water comes right out of this rock. It just comes out in the last scene where the guy, opens up his veins and dies. It's on that rock. But I guess John was in here in the 30s and 40s when this was a pack station. And before that, for the old homesteads, the Avilas packed everybody over to the coast. Did you ever see the movie Zandy's Bride?
No.
Liv Ullman, Gene Hackman.
Oh, I think I did this.
Sam was in that.
Really?
Yeah, and that's about the homesteads just on the other side of the hill. So all of Lucia, the is it Garapito, or that whole ridge over there on the other side. That's where all the homesteads were. If you go back, it'll say the old Pixar homesteads, Mill Creek. Just everything's just over the hill. So the only way to get.
Where did they shoot that film? Sandy's Bride.
They shot it over on the coast.
Oh, they did.
The coast side, yeah. You can get out that way, but the highway's closed again. It's always falling in. But I guess you could go over and go down the coast on the way out. It's kind of spectacular. You go over the Nacimiento Ferguson, you come down to the Mill Creek, and you go halfway down.
This is the middle of Steinbeck country, and this is where he wrote.
This is
all about
west
the
of Eden.
whole area. Yeah.
East of Eden's on the other side. This is the west of Eden. This is the dark, wild south coast.
When you did that together with your brother, East of Eden, the 6.5-hour miniseries, what kind of experience was that for the two of you? I mean, it's kind of interesting because you played his father.
Well, Harvey
Jeff Bridges' father was in it.
Yeah, Lloyd
too.
It was wonderful, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I liked Lloyd.
Lloyd Bridges, man. All I ever saw him was the stupid thing on his head, when he's in the water. He does this magnificent. Yeah. He was Hamilton, right?
Yeah, the well digger.
Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, the Hamilton. There's still some Hamiltons. There's one up here, and then there's some over in the King City side. Still some relatives. They're the well diggers.
How did the two of you enjoy that? It must have been.
I got to ride up in my motorhome, in his motorhome. It was his motorhome, and I got to ride up with him, and we stared at each other for about an hour, and then we read the script, and then we talked about Jeff and Bo and Sea Hunt. And then we talked about the script some more, and I told him about my ranch, and he thought that was pretty cool, and he just said this was really important, and he was so happy to be part of this, and just wanted it to be a really good scene, and he said he was honored to work with me.
That was good.
Yeah, I said likewise.
You also worked together in Island Sons. That's something actually sort of put together. Did you do that? Or?
Joe had a lot to do with putting that together. He knew somebody at Universal, and they were looking for a series.
Joseph Bottoms, your brother.
Joseph. They were looking for a series to take over for Tom Selleck's Magnum P.I. They already had the machine going in Hawaii, and they wanted another series. And so Joe talked with a gal who talked with a writer named James Perriott. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Perriott writes, oh God, he's got a big series that's been on for a long time. It's about the hospital. Yeah. Grey's Anatomy.
That's the big one.
Yeah, that's the one. Mm-hmm. And so he's one of the writers for that. And so he wrote this pilot, and it was a good pilot. And it was a great premise, and it was, hey, it was the same story that's getting all the attention right now with, what's his name? He's nominated for Best Actor that takes place in Hawaii. Oh, he was a doctor, too. Descendants.
Right.
And we played the same family. Mm. It was the same family. It was the same thing, but we did it, 15 years ago. And it was a great idea.
All four of you.
Yeah, and it was a great idea, and we all love Hawaii, and we had a great time over there. But what happened? My understanding was, I don't think the pilot was crappy. I think it could have been a great show, but I think what happened was there was some sort of. Do they have juntas in the studios? Do juntas take over and groups of guys get kicked out and other guys come in?
Yeah. Juntas,
yes, that's what happened.
Yeah, that happens all.
Okay, well, that's what happened at Universal, and so our buddies got booted, and the other guys came in, and so we don't want anything to do with this. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was my understanding. Maybe it was a crappy show. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, you never. Yeah, that happens all the time.
Does it?
This week we cut velvet. That's
Is that right?
what the guys say in New York.
I've been out for so long now, Ben. I've just been up here. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, you work with your brother on those three things. Last picture show. Let's go back to that for a minute. How did Sam end up in Texas in the first place? Why did he go there?
My mom called and she said, it's just bad here, and I got my hands full, and I think she suggested, could he just go out there and stay with you for a while I deal with Joe and Ben and your father?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure, Mom. Yeah, so I wanted to fly him out there, and he just to come out and hang out with me, get him away from the divorce scene.
And since you mentioned it, how did the two of you? I mean, actually, you were together when this was happening in Texas. So, I mean, how did you handle what he was feeling, and how did he handle what you were feeling? I mean,
we just lived together. We just had
both your parents.
We didn't talk with my mom or my dad much.
No.
That I remember he may have. We just had a room with a couple of beds, and I just kept an eye on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if he wasn't working, he was hanging out with me. I was just watching over him.
Go with that. That's kind of interesting. When you say watching over him, because
like the song, someone to watch over me.
You did say that actually you were closer to Sam than your other two brothers.
Well, Ben was young,
yeah,
and was really close to my mom, 9 years younger, so there was a little bit of a difference there. Mm-hmm. And Joe, I don't know. I love Joe. I had a lot of fun with Joe, but he had his own thing going. I mean, I just didn't relate to Joe like I related to Sam. Mm-hmm. Not saying, but hey, but if she said take Joe, I would probably have taken Joe. I just wanted everything to work out. I wanted everything to be okay. I wanted everybody to be happy.
You had another link that you might like to forget about. Hickenlooper.
George?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But actually, he did one amazing film for you and one amazing film for Sam.
Well, we both gave him the jobs.
And you want to tell us, that's a real great story, so why don't we just...
Well, I was working on a Roger Corman movie, and there was this guy who was running the... what do you call it? The guy that gives you the donuts and the coffee and stuff?
PA?
Craft service.
Oh.
He was the craft service guy. And he'd just sit there, and he had a head about the size of a watermelon, and he was a big guy, and real nice and smart. And he'd say, hey, Tim, come over here. Hey, George, give me some coffee. Pretty soon I was just hanging out with him all the time, doing my lines. And he wasn't a true friend, George. George was in it. He wasn't in it. He was in it he had an agenda. And his agenda was to be a motion picture director. He convinced me to make this movie. I didn't want to do Texas film. So I didn't like the book. I didn't like the way Larry Murtry rewrote it. I didn't think anything was about it, and it was all about money. I got paid $200,000 to be 9 days of work. I did not want to be there, and I just didn't like the way it all worked out. But he said, "You've got to do this, Tim. You have to be in this movie." And I said, "Okay, if I'm in this, George, what do you think about we make a documentary together?" "Oh, great idea." You went to Yale. He said, he told me all about it. He went to Yale. He wanted to be a filmmaker, all this stuff. I said, okay, I will put $75,000 into this thing, and we will make a documentary, and it'll be about life imitating art. In other words, the whole premise of the film was the reality of what was going on in the last picture was really happening to all of us while we were making that movie. And the fact that we're coming back to do this BS Texas movie, I want to expose all this stuff. And I won't make this movie unless we do this. So producers went along with it. I gave up $75,000 of my salary. And before I knew it, George had run away with this thing. You know, my budget on my documentary went to like $300,000 or $400,000, and I never saw him again. And he refused to give me any money, but my dad put money into it. He made sure his dad got paid back, and he just disappeared. And Sam was so angry. He wanted me to, you know, we got I had, who was going to do the editing for me? Some guy at the Academy was going to do the editing for me. We got him into the Loyola Marymount. Everything was given to us, and he just ran away with it. And Sam wanted me to hire a lawyer and sue, and I just didn't want to do it. I don't want that energy. I just got through a divorce with a wife. You finally come to a place in your life where you just don't want to fight anybody about stuff like that. I said, just let it go. But that's $75,000. Wow. Who cares? On to the next. I just did not want to deal with it.
And the next was the one he did with your brother.
Well, then Sam he wanted to do this. So Sam said, hey, I've got, you know, he was very tight with Francis. And he said, Francis brought him in to do the editing for Heart of Darkness. All of the footage that Francis's wife had shot.
Yeah.
Plus, he gave him the script for Big Brass Ring.
Well, Sam had a very funny story that he told you about what happened when they shot Apocalypse Now. Was it in the Philippines or?
Yeah.
You want to tell a story about what happened to his property?
Well, we were all excited that he got the job. You know.
It's a wonderful film.
You know, everybody wanted to wish him. I bought him a brand new Yater surfboard because he was a surfer, right? And he was going to have a Yater surfboard and all this stuff. So got him. It's really beautiful. 9.4, and I rolled a really special joint. I stuffed it in a thin box and I waxed it in there and hid it so they wouldn't find it, so that you could have a nice smoke before you surf. I had a bag built for it, and he had a brand new camera in his backpack, and you know, we all went to the airport and wished him well. Off he went. So I guess he told me that he got in, and they were getting ready to do the opening scene of the napalm drop. And so I don't know if it was Fred Roos or one of those guys said, Sam, great. He just got out of the Jeep, and he said, just stick all your stuff over in the architect shack, you know, where we have all the drawings and the offices, and we had it all set up. And we're going to go over here to the valley. They're going to drop all the napalm over here in the valley and do this big burn scene. We're getting all ready for it. Come on, you got to see this. So, took all the stuff, his passport, his backpack, his camera, his surfboard, and stashed it in with all the other stuff, everybody's stuff. Went over to watch the napalm. When the napalm came, they burned the shack instead. And he lost everything the day he got there. Everything.
God.
All burned up.
So
Francis said, well, Sam, welcome to Vietnam.
really funny.
Yeah.
Did you and Sam ever compare films? I mean, did he have a favorite of yours that he thought this is like the best you've ever done? Do you have a favorite of his where?
Sam went to Los Angeles and he liked it down there.
Mm-hmm.
He and Sue, his wife Sue, they had 2 daughters, and they lived in Toluca Lake, and then they divorced, and then he married Laura for a couple of years and died. We called him L.A. Steve. He just loved Los Angeles. He knew everybody and hung out down there, and I could never I had a hard time going past. I hit Ventura. It was like, I don't want to go past Ventura.
You still.
And now I don't want to go past Santa Maria.
Well, you go to Westwood occasionally.
Yeah, I do go down to see Tammy, but Sam was into it. He had all those connections. He went to all the parties and saw everybody. I don't see anybody up here. You know, if you're not into it, if you're sitting in a place like this, nobody's going to come up here and talk to you.
A 400-pound bear.
Yeah, that's about it.
When you look back on Sam's career, what were the one or two films you thought were his absolute best?
Well, I thought he was a really good dead guy in The Last Picture Show. I enjoyed Bronco Billy. I enjoyed Apocalypse Now. Not Bronco Billy. What's the other one? He did a really good job with Clint. Josie Wales. He had a lot of wild stuff. Yeah, he had a lot of interesting little parts.
But he never talked to you about, like, Paper Chase or White Dawn or any of those.
You know, he was so into getting his girls through school. And he did a lot of commercials. I think one thing he was really proud of was the Cadillac commercial that he did on the Super Bowl.
How long ago was that?
He said, I made more money on the Cadillac commercial of the Super Bowl than I made in my whole career. And he was standing on a surfboard at the bottom of an empty pool. Something.
Yeah, he surfed a sand dune.
Was it a sand dune?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about as a brother, you and your brothers, the time you surfed, the times you surfed in Santa Barbara.
Oh, we used to go down to the casino all the time because it was just it was so close, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The pool was there, the hot tub was there, and there's this great wave called Hammond's Point. It's 2 bowls, and when it's right, it's a perfect wave. It's a beautiful wave. And growing up the Hollister Ranch area, from governments, from the Bixby Ranch, Point Conception, the Vandenberg Air Force Base, that area, down all the way down to the El Cap. Which is a beautiful wave too when it's happening. El Capitan.
Was Sam into riding too?
No.
Were you the only
I was the only one that had a horse. Yeah, and then
one?
my little brother Ben, he's very much into it now.
Yeah, I don't want to dwell on this, but it seemed like the two of you, as children, had a great time. You enjoyed yourself, and can you remember like any Christmases or anything when you were little?
Oh, Christmases were always wonderful. My mom and my dad always had wonderful celebrations. There was always lots of mountains of presents, and there were a lot of good years, a lot of wonderful times together. It was really good as a kid. They were very loving, very kind, a lot of support. It wasn't until later in life, when I was about 17, 18, that they just decided they didn't want to be around each other.
I'm wondering what it was like with you and Sam in school.
Sam was always 4, so I always missed Sam. Sam was always kind of quiet. Didn't make a lot of... I remember one thing about Sam was if we were... It was one time we were hiking. This says something about his personality. He said, I'm tired. I don't want to go any further. And Dad said, come on, we just got to go over the hill. We were all packing in someplace. I'm not going another step. And he stopped. He said, come on, Sam, we just got another mile to go. And he held his breath until he fainted.
Oh.
And down he went. And he could hold his breath and just drop. I thought that was interesting. But what was really interesting is later when you find out about this brain tumor, it's a lack of oxygen that is created. Now, he smoked, and we were trying to get him to stop smoking, but as a kid, I don't know if it had anything to do with it at all. Fell out of a car or got hit or whatever. He could deny himself oxygen and actually faint, whereas I couldn't do it. If I said, I'm going to hold my breath, till I faint. I don't think I could do it. He could do it. He could just hold his breath and then just drop.
December 16, 2008. That was the day he died. And you were there.
Oh, yeah.
Just tell me.
Laura called me and said that,
just
it's going to go over. She said, she called. She said, this is, we're going to the next stage. So, and I was living in Los Angeles for that year. I moved down there, and just in case when she was gone, because she was always busy, or when his daughters couldn't be there, I was going to be there. And Laura had a place in the back, and I stayed there. And when they didn't want me there, I left. I had another place to live. The guy just came in and gave him the narcotic, and we just held his hands, and he died. Yeah. Eyes went bright gold. He just stopped breathing. And we wanted, let go, Sam, let go. He was in pain, stuff. It's just a shitty way to go. He had told me, after all the treatments, he said, I don't want to go anymore. I don't want to do this chemo and all this stuff again. It's just too painful. Just too sick. So. And
in a way that it must have been really painful when you saw that scene, and there you are.
Yeah, and I don't know, there's just a lot of bullshit around that movie, and I know it was a very successful movie, but there was a lot of dysfunction going on with everybody in their real lives. And in my family and Peter's family, and everybody was going through shit. It was just like, okay, how many times you got to see this thing? But I'm glad I went because they filled that theater with people. I didn't think there was going to be that many people that were, I honestly didn't think then that many people would be interested. And they turned people away. And it was packed. Yes. So, I'm glad I went.
And I'm glad I had the extra tickets.
Yeah, I'm glad. I am too. Because, you don't usually go to San Miguel and see it packed.
No. It was a great evening. And I think actually when you sat up there, and spoke to the audience.
I didn't think I said anything.
Yes, you did. You spoke very well, and you spoke clearly about your feelings of what happened, what went on when that film was being shot. And it was interesting the way Cloris Leachman, I think, sort of backed up on what you said.
She's sweet.
Yeah, she was great.
And Eileen, even though she couldn't speak, she was, her mind was there, but she just couldn't put the words. It was hard for her.
Well, I think Eileen expressed
as best she could.
No, she expressed her warmth toward you by just basically holding on to you.
Yeah, but she kept saying, "And who are you?
I know.
Who are you?" Shit. Poor thing. I said, "I'm Tim."
Yeah.
Oh, Tim. Yeah. Who?
Oh, well, tell me one of the happier things that you can recall about Sam as a brother.
Well, we had a lot of fun up here.
Yeah, tell me about that. That's a perfect way to end this.
Yeah.
What did you like to do up here?
Well, we did an e-coupon ride one time. He called it the e-coupon. We got horseback and we went up the Carrizo, which means the cane. It's the old Homestead Trail. When it was open, and you go up the ridge and you follow it all the way to the Cook Spring, which is the rock where water comes out. And then you go right to Combe Peak, which is the highest point on the coast, and growing. And then you go around the back, which is called the Devil's Staircase, and then you hit the San Antonio Trail. You drop down to the Fresno, to the San Antonio, back to the house. We did it all in a day, and it was just a lot of fun. We had a couple horses, and it was just a wild day in the mountains on some wild open range feral horses just crashing through the brush. I think I had that machete. That's so stupid. Sam was, oh God. There was this one big branch over the
He
tree.
brought it to you.
Yeah, he gave it to me, and I had it, and I was chopping. I just threw it over the saddle horn and was chopping it. I couldn't get through this one tree. I have these little open range feral horses because they're good for getting under brush and stuff. You don't want big horses in this country. My horses are kind of small. He was saying, "I don't think you should do that, Tim." I was going, "Why?" He said, "Because," and as he said because, that's when it happened. What I was doing was I was on a branch, and the branch was attached to the tree here, and I was standing here, and I was chopping the branch like this.
Oh, you were doing the idiot.
I was doing the idiot. And I'm chopping the tree, and I said, "Why? We're almost home." He said, "I don't think you should chop that because..." I was out on the branch, and I should have been on this side. Oops, that was the idiot. I was the dummy.
Well,
What's the extent of the Carrizo Trail again?
What?
The Carrizo Trail goes on the coast?
The Carrizo goes from the bridge, or from behind the house, up to what they call the old, to the spring, and then to the Old Man Mountain, and it connects to the Cook Spring, and you can either go to the Gamboa, over to the right, or you can go to the left and stay on the Coast Ridge and go back behind Combe Peak.
What was the sign up on the ridge? What's that? What was that?
Oh, that old one that said Tucson?
Yeah.
Oh, that was just an old carving. It says Tucson 800 miles, and it's part of an old connection to Arizona through here. When this was all Mexico.